Hello everybody and welcome to part 1 of my lesson on the AQA GCSE English Language Paper 1 question 4. And this question is worth the most on the reading section of this paper, so it's well worth going through this lesson just to make sure you fully understand what you have to do in order to achieve the top marks. So this question assesses assessment objective 4, which is to evaluate texts critically and support this with appropriate textual references. This question assesses your ability to evaluate whether you agree with a statement based on what you've read, okay? So in the specimen paper that we've seen and the other papers that I've seen, generally it's a question that they say a student has said about what has been given to you to read, and you have to say whether you agree or disagree with that statement, depending on what is said within the extract itself. And you need to provide quotes in order to back up what you are saying. In order to achieve level 4, which is 16 to 20 marks for this question, because we know it's a 20-mark question, so it's actually worth half the marks on the reading section, you need to evaluate critically and in detail the effect on the reader. So you need to consider the statement that you're given, whether you agree with it, and then you need to find quotes that either support or contradict that statement, and also consider the effect that those words in the quote have on the reader. You need to consider the writer's methods, and in this question that means structure or language, so you can look for words which either support or contradict the statement, or any structural devices. You need to select textual detail, which just means finding quotes. But you need to develop a convincing and critical response, and that's what's key to this question, is you need to consider whether your statements fully support the statement that's been given at the top of the paper. So in this question you'll be given that statement, and you need to say whether you agree or disagree with it, or to what extent you agree with that statement or disagree. So the lowdown for this question is it will ask you to consider whether you agree or disagree with the statement, okay? And I've said that I would try and start your answer with a general statement which answers the question. So do you agree or disagree, or to what extent do you agree or disagree? You must consider how the writer uses methods, and that means language or structure. You need to write about both sides of the argument. So there will be points in the extract that do support this statement, and there will be points in the extract that contradict the argument. So in order to provide the examiner with a good critical evaluation, you need to consider both sides. I would aim for 5 to 6 paragraphs. I would say 5 is the golden number for this question. But if you can easily write a 6th in the time that you're given, which is 25 minutes, then go for that. Just make sure that you really do analyse the words in the quote that you've chosen and really consider the effect on the reader. So the flow chart for this question is this right here, and you can get this free download on my website asiaexams.wordpress.com. So as I said, I would start your answer always with I agree or disagree, or I agree to a certain extent or disagree to a certain extent with the statement that, and then obviously you can just copy what the statement is. And that's a really good general opening to your answer. You're explaining to the examiner what your point of view is. Then you need to put your point in, which answers the question, and you're either going to pop in a language technique or specific words, and you would mention word class, or any structural device in there which supports or contradicts that statement that you've been given. Then you need to provide a quote. You need to so define, imply, effect. Obviously, if you're considering the language element, then defining the word or phrase in the quote is a good place to start. If you're looking for structural elements, then you would need to consider what the effect of that structural element is, okay? And then at the end of that paragraph, you need to consider how that links back to the question. So how does that quote, or how do the words in the quote more specifically, support or contradict the statement that you've been given? Okay, so each paragraph should have your point, quote, die and link. Okay, now it might not flow in that order all the time, and I will show you a sample answer at the end of part 2, which does show that sometimes the link can come in the middle of your paragraph, but each paragraph needs to comprise each section of that paragraph structure. Okay, so in part 2, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at an extract from War of the Worlds. I'm going to show you how we put that paragraph flowchart into practice, and also I'm going to give you a practice question to have a go at yourself, and I've got a full mark sample answer for that question, which is on my website acaexams.wordpress.com, and you can get all of these downloads for free. There's no cost, no charge to you whatsoever. If you've got any questions, then you can tweet me at acaexams, or you can contact me through the website. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because there are further updates coming, and stay tuned for part 2. Thank you.